Cubs. For the first time in over 25 years, it's time to introduce your Knoxville Smokies.
Go Smokies!
Smokies fans, friends, thank you for tuning in on 92.5, 1180 WKCE, and our YouTube crowd. Thank you for tuning in live alongside Jimbo James Cole Schmelzer. I'm Connor Nelson, bringing you Smokies pregame action before game number 3. We've got the Rocket City Trash Pandas and your Knoxville Smokies. And games 1 and 2 haven't gone all that great for the Smokies, but we've got some breaking news, Jimbo, to talk about first. And we got to talk about our big brothers, the Chicago Cubs over there in Illinois. They just made a big move. A former Smoky, Owen Casey, getting the call to the big leagues late last night. Probably a great moment. Wishing the best for Casey and his friends and family. Going to be fun to watch his debut. This is a guy who's been tearing up the minor leagues right now. Cubs top prospect. Jimbo, were you surprised to hear this news?
Nah, I wasn't surprised at all, to be honest with you. With the amount of injuries that the Cubs have faced, they've made a lot of call-ups this year. There've been a lot of transactions. It's funny because I remember earlier in the year, our lead broadcaster here, Mick Gillespie, he told me, he said, I need you to go to Nashville to meet this Owen Casey kid. And I said, why? I just didn't know. And he was like, this kid's going to be good at baseball. And surely enough, this kid has absolutely mashed the minor leagues. He slashed 292 in 92 games for Iowa with 22 home runs, 26 doubles, and 53 unintentional walks. He's a pure machine. He was acquired as part of the deal for Yu Darvish from San Diego. And again, it just seems like this kid has raw power and he could contribute to the Cubs lineup. Batting 5th today against the Blue Jays. So again, Owen Casey getting called up to the show. Congratulations. And I wish him the best of luck. He's going to be a great talent for years to come.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mick. One of the big things that he always likes mentioning is talking about Joe Maddon and how he used to run the Chicago Cubs. And when his stars weren't playing well, he'd bring some young prospect up to just juice him up a little bit. Some young prospect, if he starts playing well, that's going to juice up your guys that are supposed to be stars, supposed to be performing at that kind of level consistently. And when a guy's doing it fresh out of the minor leagues, you're going to try a little bit harder. And then what gave him the opportunity was John Birdie, the utility man, veteran guy. He's been all over the place. Cubs DFA'd him. They're finally saying, all right, let's like this is the go time. They're not doing too well in the standings right now, so it's going to be hard for them to really bolster a lot of wins here late in the season without their top of the lineup hitting, which they haven't right now. So they get rid of John Birdie, a guy who was just really platooning, only hitting .210 on the season in 53 games and, 0 home runs. So hopefully Casey can provide some more of those. What was your reaction? I know third base was kind of a question mark all year long for the Cubs, and then the starting pitching role was like that's what we want at the trade deadline. Those have been the two biggest parts of the Cubs post-All-Star break.
Yeah, like you said, John Birdie, he's been really a platoon guy. Again, the Cubs have battled injuries all year long. Birdie, he's a former prospect with the Toronto Blue Jays. He came up, made a start in 2018. Then 2019 through 2022, he was primarily with the Miami Marlins, and he played a lot of positions, almost every position other than first base, just taking a look at his numbers. He played second base, third base, shortstop, even played a little bit of outfield. But the guy, he on average hit like 260, but the guy never really was a home run hitter. He's just more your guy to throw in the lineup when you need an extra bat. Again, very durable veteran. It's sad to see him go again, but it gives another opportunity for the Cubs to bring up some of their highly touted prospects that they got here in the system.
Yeah, and then some more news. Miguel Amaya looks like he's going back onto the IL. X-rays were negative. He sustained an injury while just trying to beat out a ground ball at first base. And it sucks because he was making his debut off the IL. We were knowing how big of a piece this would be for the Cubs, another big hitting catcher to play alongside Carson Kelly. But Reese McGuire going to be inserted into that backup role again. So there still could be another move coming. We could see Moises Ballesteros get another shot at the big leagues. Not sure what will happen yet, but all of the attention is going to be on Owen Casey tonight for Chicago. But bringing it back to Knoxville, let's go ahead and recap, Jimbo, our last couple of games for anybody who hasn't tuned in to the first two games of the Smokies series out in Rocket City. So game one, not great for the Smokies. The bats went cold. They got shut out. Final score of 5-0. Smokies starter Grant Kipp was good early, but ran into some trouble in the fourth. And the Trash Pandas, they rode some late hits, and George Claassen, one of their top prospects, pitched really well. And then Jimbo, game two had a similar outcome. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, I would definitely say that the Smokies progressed from game one. They went from 3 hits to 5 hits on the night. They were still shut out, unfortunately. Just looking at the box score, it was a similar night, and it was crazy. I was like, how can you go into a game where Mitch Ferris, he's given up a lot of earned runs. Granted, he is an innings eater for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, but you go into that thinking, wow, the Smokies offense, they're lined up perfectly. They could potentially be a threat here in this game. And they just come up empty-handed once again. So, and again, we said yesterday, there's no room for error for this team. So for them to get shut out again, it's only the 4th shutout in Rocket City Trash Pandas season, and 2 of them have come off the Smokies. So it's just, in back-to-back nights, it's just incredible for me. Again, like we said, Rocket City, they have nothing to lose. They're just a spoiler team here in this series, and everything to lose here for the Smokies, and it just makes it worse when you're getting shut out in back-to-back nights.
Yeah, the Trash Pandas falling off a cliff right now, and they grabbed us by the ankles, and they're taking us with them. It's not right. Why do they play their best baseball against us? It's not fair. We want to play a little bit deeper into September. We want the ticket to Chattanooga, but the Smokies, unfortunately, not able to drive in any runs in the first 2 games, but they have some help for game number 3. We'll get into that a little bit later. First, let's start with a sneak peek at the standings. We were talking about playoffs just a second ago. So, Jimbo, how does the Southern League North look for the Smokies heading into game 3?
Yeah, with the loss of Smokies, once again, they're going to drop another game here against the Barons, who once again won last night by a final score of 7-5 against Pensacola Blue Wahoos. They're in Pensacola currently right now. Obviously, the Smokies in Rocket City. They sit 9.5 back here in the Southern League North. Chattanooga's now jumped ahead. Again, we said Chattanooga, for them, it means nothing. They won the first half. They're in the playoffs. For the Smokies, it means everything. And Rocket City, they're so far back again. They're just playing spoiler here. So hopefully, again, we could see the light at the end of the rainbow here for the Smokies, that they can get some wins and pull off almost a miracle in the last month here of the season. But again, losing back-to-back nights on 2 shutouts just isn't a good look.
Yeah, Birmingham fans sitting pretty when they're checking the standings in the morning right now, just seeing their lead on the entire division just grow seemingly every day. But hey, if you're a Southern League North fan, this is a fun time of year right now. Pensacola still in the driver's seat with a 1.5 games on Montgomery, but Montgomery hasn't even been able to play their last 2 games against Chattanooga because of rain. So they're just kind of stuck right there in the middle of the standings. And then Columbus kind of gained some ground. They had a win yesterday, and we'll see where they end up. They were not very good, sub-500 team in the first half, but in the second half, they're right here around 500, could be fighting for a playoff spot, and they could be taking the trip to Biloxi. Biloxi still mailing it in at the bottom of the standings. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our starting pitching matchup. We'll get into the lineups in a bit. I said there's some help, but we got to talk about our tone setters first. And on the mound tonight, it's going to be Walker Powell for the Smokies going up against Walber Hurania for the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So, Jimbo, what's the report on Walker Powell?
Yes, so Walker Powell, 29-year-old, coming from the South Bend Cubs, obviously this year. He's only made 1 start for the Smokies, got called up around the time that the Chicago Cubs dealt Sam Armstrong and Ryan Gallagher for Willie Castro. In his game against Biloxi, went 4 innings, only allowed 1 run on 5 hits, has a whip of 1.25. Again, he's sitting at a 0.0 ERA, no wins, no losses, didn't get a decision in his first start. Hopefully looking to rebound here, but he's already spent time with the Smokies, the Tennessee Smokies, in Kodak. In 2023, he pitched to an ERA of 3.68, and in 2022 pitched to an ERA of 1.96. So again, Walker Powell is going to be the starter here tonight for the Smokies, and hopefully it's going to be a good outing for him.
Yeah, he's a fun story. This is a guy, 29 years old, just 3 years of pro ball because of 3 Tommy John surgeries. He's out of Southern Miss. He's originally from Arkansas, and had the chance to talk to him after his debut start. Said he felt great. Said, unfortunately, team couldn't come out with the win. But in terms of what he's able to control, he was excited about. Felt great. And so this is kind of a rehab. I mean, his 2 years, you mentioned his sub-4 ERA in 2023. In 2022, his debut professional season, he only threw in 10 games, but had a sub-2 ERA at the AA level. So really fun to watch. This is a guy who was only dominating in pro ball and just hoping to stay healthy so he can keep doing more of that. Excited to see him in his second start with the new Knoxville Smokies in this season. But his counterpart tonight going to be Walber Urania on the season, 4-7 with an ERA just under 5 at 4.93. He's already seen Knoxville once. It was a 5-inning start. He allowed 5 runs. It was a little bit, he hit a guy, walked a few batters, but he's been slowly getting better throughout this season. If you look at his monthly splits, you take a look at April, he had an ERA over 7, and then June over 6. July gets down to 4, and then here in August, he's had 2 starts, pitched to a 3.75 ERA. So he's been getting better as the season's going along, and the Smokies bats have not been good as of late, but hopefully they get some help from their new guys that are getting back into the lineup. And that segues is just perfect. Jimbo, what's the 1 through 9 looking like for Lance Reimel tonight?
Yeah, so taking a look at the 1 through 9 here, obviously, again, the Smokies sitting third in the Southern League North. Leading off, we're going to have Brett Bateman in center field. Batting second at second base, it's going to be number 39, Corey Joyce. Batting third, the designated hitter getting pulled back into the lineup, it's going to be B.J. Murray Jr. Batting fourth is going to be the right fielder, Jalen Palmer. Again, he's been on a tear as of late. Batting fifth, it's going to be Jefferson Rojas, the shortstop, number 3 prospect in the Cubs organization. Batting sixth, it's going to be the third baseman, number 22, Raybash Garcia. And then the 7, 8, 9 will look like this. Pablo Aliendo will be the first baseman. Ethan Hearn will do the catching here tonight, batting eighth. And Carter Trice, who got his first hit last night in left field, all behind Walker Powell.
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo, you said it earlier. This is not my own words, but maybe I gave Carter Trice some good juju yesterday after calling him out as my player to watch. He was so good against lefties in his tenure at South Bend. This is his first time getting to see a lefty starting pitcher. Sure enough, picked up his first knock, and it was a double, too. So good for him. Got the extra base hit. Shout out to Rusty Does Sports as well in the live YouTube chat saying go Smokies. So for our listeners on 92.5 or 1180 WKCE, you can always catch the Smokies live pregame show, pilot pregame show here on the YouTube channel, Smokies Baseball on YouTube. So, and fans can also forget to remind you that this season, Pioneer Comfort and your Knoxville Smokies are teaming up to hit home runs for heroes. So for every home run hit by a Smoky this season, $100 will be donated to the Wounded Warrior Project, courtesy of Pioneer Comfort. And to date, $5,300 have been raised between the two in their partnership this season. A phenomenal number and a phenomenal cause, phenomenal way to keep adding to that pot. We want some more homers. And let's go ahead and get into our players to watch our final segment here on our pilot pregame show. And Jimbo, I'll throw it to you first. We've talked about a lot of new guys back in the lineup recently. Who are you watching tonight?
Yeah, so we had a nice chance earlier in the year to sit down with Corey Joyce. Again, a very humble guy, came from the Tigers organization, just 26 years old. The righty is actually been pretty good as of late. This season against the Trash Pandas, though, batting .286 with 2 RBIs and 8 walks. But his hitting streak, that's the one to look out for here tonight. He's on a 3-game hitting streak and a 3-game on-base streak. And for me, again, Corey Joyce, just a great guy, a great player to watch. He's been batting pretty well this season, and hopefully we can get it going here tonight again. They got shut out 2 nights for Joyce, sitting with a .279 batting average, 27 RBIs on the season. So, again, my player to watch here is going to be Corey Joyce.
All right, I like it. He was just inserted back into the lineup yesterday. We previewed that on yesterday's Pilot pregame show due to his injury suffered in last week's homestand. But we have another insert into tonight's lineup. That's my player to watch. It's going to be B.J. Murray Jr. You talked about him earlier, Jimbo. Right back up into the middle of the action. We typically see him in the 4 hole, but today he's going to be in the 3 spot doing the damage. And he has not played a game going all the way back since August 2nd. He missed 9 games total, but he still has a 5 RBI lead over the next closest guy in the Southern League with 72 RBIs leading the Southern League and the Smokies. He had only 1 game in the month of July did he not record an RBI. He was on an absolute tear, and during that span, he went a full calendar month without a homer. That was something we were talking about a lot in July. And then, of course, once a month had passed, he's like, all right, I gave everybody else a chance to catch up, and then he starts bringing the juice again, a couple of homers in just 3 days. So I'm hoping for some more of the same from B.J. Murray Jr. The injury was suffered back in Chattanooga on Saturday's game. It was a play while he was out in the field playing first base. Slight collision with his left arm with a runner coming up the baseline. So looks like he's all good now. He's been fielding the last couple of days. Looks like the bat is ready to go. So Lance Reimel still easing him back in. He's going to be DHing tonight, but the Smokies need his bat, have not scored a run in the last 18 innings. They need B.J. Murray to come up in the clutch today as he has all season long. So, Jimbo, any last words before we wrap up our Pilot pregame show and send it over to Mick Gillespie on the mic for tonight?
Yeah, I was just going to mention B.J. Murray Jr., he has been our leader here for the Wounded Warrior Project, raising here for Pioneer Comfort, 16 home runs on the season. And I remember, again, last month when you mentioned a player to watch here, you're like, B.J. Murray hasn't had a home run in a while. And then, sure enough, the second you did it, you're like Nostradamus out here. That's how I describe it. You just call these shots, and it's incredible, seriously. Carter Trice last night gets his first hit of the year. So, again, B.J. Murray Jr., great home run hitter for this Smokies offense. Hopefully they can look to get it going here tonight and prevent a 5th shutout that Rocket City is looking to just capitalize on.
Yes, Smokies need the bats, and B.J. Murray Jr. is a big one. Fans, can't forget to remind you, as a proud sponsor of the Knoxville Smokies, Pilot's out here to fuel your game day drive with gas, snacks, and more. Pilot, see you out here. And fans, that's going to wrap up our Pilot pregame show. Don't tune off the radio if you're listening on 92.5 or 1180 WKCE, because the voice of Smokies baseball, Mick Gillespie, will be on the call tonight for all 9 innings of Smokies action on the Smokies Baseball Network. For our YouTube crowd, you can find it on SmokiesBaseball.com. Just go ahead and click on the radio tab, and you're right there alongside Mick for the ride. And fans, Game 3 coming up between your Knoxville Smokies and the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So for Jimbo James, Cole Schmelzer, and myself, Connor Nelson, signing out for the Smokies Baseball Network.
Fans, for the first time in over 25 years, it's time to introduce your Knoxville Smokies.
Go Smokies!
Nah, we don't need